Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants, IAI. Excellent Professional Accountants, Advance Indonesia. The Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants, IAI, actively supports the development of human resource and economic transformation in Indonesia.
Akuntan memiliki peran penting dalam pembangunan nasional yang berkesinambungan.
The accountancy profession is supporting efforts to improve the professionalism of Indonesian human resource so that they can work optimally to support efficient and transparent economic development. Through Initiative 6.1, which has been established as a general program of the IEI Council for the period of 2018-2022. IAI is ready to work and contribute to the safeguarding of the nation economy towards Indonesia Emas 2045.
Saya sangat mendukung rencana IAI untuk mempercepat program sertifikasi agar para akuntan di negara kita memiliki kreativitas, inovasi, keterampilan, dan memiliki daya saing, dan sekali lagi dalam rangka mendukung pengembangan ekosistem kita yang lebih akuntabel, lebih efisien, goal-oriented, dan inovatif.
This responsibility is materialized through the Chartered Accountant or CA Indonesia as the identity for Indonesian professional accountants, and the quality is globally recognized. Initiative 6.1 includes 6 steps of action with one strategic objective to strengthen the role of IAI in increasing public trust in business and public entities by preparing professional accountants with integrity ready to face the future.
Kepada generasi muda akuntan Indonesia yang menjadi peserta di APAFest, saya berharap agar para akuntan muda juga mampu menguasai teknologi. Jangan pernah berhenti belajar. Manfaatkan kesempatan untuk memperdalami dunia keilmuan dan pengalaman berbisnis, sehingga kemampuan kalian dapat terasah.
IAI carries out its duties and responsibilities to compile the financial accounting standards and professional standards, carry out certification examination, as well as other professional activities referring to the International Federation of Accountants and Chartered Accountants worldwide. IAI for Society is run to provide greater benefits for the community and to bring the profession closer to public. IAI's founding fathers have set two goals for the establishment of IAI. the Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants (IAI) was organized to enhance the quality of accountants' education and improve the quality of Indonesian accountants' work. IAI, Mastering Change, Preparing for the Future.
Your business is a living thing, growing and evolving based on the decisions you make, the directions you take. Chartered accountants have the breadth of skills, commitment to ethics, and global expertise to help your business thrive. We are uniquely experienced to make a difference to your world. Choose a difference maker. Choose a chartered accountant.
Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants, IAI. Excellent Professional Accountants, Advance Indonesia. The Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants, IAI, actively supports the development of human resource and economic transformation in Indonesia.
Akuntan memiliki peran penting dalam pembangunan nasional yang berkesinambungan.
The accountancy profession is supporting efforts to improve the professionalism of Indonesian human resource so that they can work optimally to support efficient and transparent economic development. Through Initiative 6.1, which has been established as a general program of the IEI Council for the period of 2018-2022. IAI is ready to work and contribute to the safeguarding of the nation economy towards Indonesia Emas 2045.
Saya sangat mendukung rencana IAI untuk mempercepat program sertifikasi agar para akuntan di negara kita memiliki kreativitas, inovasi, keterampilan, dan memiliki daya saing, dan sekali lagi dalam rangka mendukung pengembangan ekosistem kita yang lebih akuntabel, lebih efisien, goal-oriented, dan inovatif.
This responsibility is materialized through the Chartered Accountant or CA Indonesia as the identity for Indonesian professional accountants, and the quality is globally recognized. Initiative 6.1 includes 6 steps of action with one strategic objective to strengthen the role of IAI in increasing public trust in business and public entities by preparing professional accountants with integrity ready to face the future.
Kepada generasi muda akuntan Indonesia yang menjadi peserta di APAFES, saya berharap agar para akuntan muda juga mampu menguasai teknologi. Jangan pernah berhenti belajar. Manfaatkan kesempatan untuk memperdalami dunia keilmuan dan pengalaman berbisnis, sehingga kemampuan kalian dapat terasah.
IAI carries out its duties and responsibilities to compile the financial accounting standards and professional standards, carry out certification examination, as well as other professional activities referring to the International Federation of Accountants and Chartered Accountants worldwide. IAI for Society is run to provide greater benefits for the community and to bring the profession closer to public. IAI's founding fathers have set two goals for the establishment of IAI. the Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants (IAI) was organized to enhance the quality of accountants education and improve the quality of Indonesian accountants' work. IAI, Mastering Change, Preparing for the Future. Preparing professional accountants with integrity, ready to face the future.
Kepada generasi muda akuntan Indonesia yang menjadi peserta di APAFES, saya berharap agar para akuntan muda juga mampu menguasai teknologi. Jangan pernah berhenti belajar. Manfaatkan kesempatan untuk memperdalami dunia keilmuan dan pengalaman berbisnis, sehingga kemampuan kalian dapat terasah.
IAI carries out its duties and responsibilities to compile the financial accounting standards and professional standards, carry out certification examination, as well as other professional activities referring to the International Federation of Accountants and Chartered Accountants worldwide. IAI for Society is run to provide greater benefits for the community and to bring the profession closer to public. IAI's founding fathers have set two goals for the establishment of IAI. The Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants (IAI) was organized to enhance the quality of accountants' education and improve the quality of Indonesian accountants' work. IAI, Mastering Change, Preparing for the Future.
Your business is a living thing, growing and evolving based on the decisions you make, the directions you take. Chartered accountants have the breadth of skills, commitment to ethics, and global expertise to help your business thrive. We are uniquely experienced to make a difference to your world. Choose a difference maker. Choose a chartered accountant. What kind of tomorrow do you want to shape? A connected world, working together to prosper and thrive. Training as a chartered accountant puts you in a position to make a real difference, giving you the skills and perspectives to build the tomorrow you want. Become a difference maker. Become a chartered accountant.
Raihlah prestasimu, satukan tujuan, siapkan masa depan, jaga akuntabilitas. IAI mengabdi, bersatu dan berbakti, untuk ibu pertiwi, selalu berkarya dan jaga integritas Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia. Langkahmu, gerakmu, hadirkan semangatmu, hatimu dan mimpimu, satukanlah dalam asamu. Tunjukkan baktimu, kuatkan imanmu, raihlah prestasimu, satukan tujuan, siapkan masa depan, jaga akuntabilitas. IAI mengabdi, bersatu dan berbakti, untuk ibu pertiwi, selalu berkarya dan jaga integritas Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia. Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia.
Honorable Professor Mardiasmo, IAI President, Ibu Sinta Wijaya Kamdani, Chair of B20 Indonesia, Bapak Haryanto Budiman, Chair of Task Force Integrity and Compliance B20 Indonesia, Ms. Mardi McBrien, Strategic Alliances Director at IFRS Foundation, members of IAI National Council, Bapak Hendang Tanusjaya, Chairman of Indonesian Institute of Certified Public Accountant, the honorable speakers, moderator, all the distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon from Geraha Akuntan, Jakarta, Indonesia. My name is Monica Nabilia and I'll be your host for today's webinar. On behalf of the organizer, the Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants, or IAI, B20 Indonesia, and the International Federation of Accountants, or IFAC, welcome to the Integrity and Compliance Task Force webinar, B20 IAI IFAC Strategic Leader Forum, Sustainability Governance as the Foundation of Value Creation. Ladies and gentlemen, as a member of B20 Integrity and Compliance Task Force, IAI and IFAC is honored to have B20 support to recognize this webinar as part of B20 Indonesia side event as initiated by Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or Kadin. This webinar is the third from 4 B20 side events that organized by IAI and IFAC in 2022. Our last event will be an online seminar in Bandung on October 10, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin, let us sing the national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, to open our webinar today, let us hear the opening remarks from IAI President, Professor Mardiasmo.
Honorable Ms. Sinta Wijaya Kamdani, Chair of the B20 Indonesia, Mr. Haryanto Tibudirman, Chair of the B20 Indonesia Integrity and Compliance Task Force, Ms. Marty McBreen, Director, IFRS Foundation, distinguished speakers, Professor Sitata Utama, Council Member IAI as a moderator, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon from Jakarta, Indonesia. First of all, let us start by expressing our praise and gratitude to the God Almighty for His blessing for this important event. B20 IAI affects Strategic Leader Forum, Sustainability Governance as the foundation of value creation. This is the third consecutive this event of B20 Task Force Integrity and Compliance, continuing the successful of previous events, collaboration between IAI, B20 Integrity and Compliance Task Force, IFAC, and ISSB. Almost 2,000 participants from 10 countries have registered from this webinar. This event will describe the importance of sustainability governance to create value through advancing innovative, inclusive, and collaborative growth, and share the various perspectives from regulators, investor, rating agency, multinational company, and state-owned enterprises. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is undeniable that Indonesia's existence as the G20 president in 2020 is now increasingly recognized and respected by the international community. Therefore, the jargon of recovering faster, rising stronger, and hot in the commemoration of Indonesia 77 Independence Day should be a stepping stone for Indonesian leadership and leading in the global post-pandemic revival. Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia, or IAI, through its role in the B20 Integrity and Compliance Task Force, has taken a strategic role through the preparation of the strategic recommendation that will be submitted to G20. The B20 is made possible with the support of the International Business Organization and network partners, including the International Federation of Accountants, or IFAC. IFAC and IAI are parts of the B20 Task Force Integrity and Compliance, represented by IAI National Council board members. Through this forum, we are raising the business community's awareness toward the IFRS sustainability disclosure standard and sustainability governance. Aligning with the past exceptional outcome of the G20 presidencies will reflecting to the current situation. B20 members have agreed to call for a stronger action from the G20 on 4 key areas. 1. Promote sustainability governance in business to support ESG, environment, social, and governance. Number 2, foster collective action to alleviate integrity risk. And 3, foster agility in contract measure to combat money laundering, terrorist financing risk initiative. And the last one, number 4, strengthen governance to mitigate exacerbated cybercrime risk. Focusing on the first policy recommendation to promote sustainability governance in business to support ESG, Integrity and Compliance Task Force highlight the importance of improving sustainability governance measures and optimize sustainability governance compliance disclosure and monitoring. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to once again thank the B20 leadership for recognizing IAA roles in organizing this event as part of the global legacy chapter of the B20 Integrity and Compliance Task Force. I would like to take this opportunity to formally convey our appreciation to the B20 Indonesia leadership and secretariat for the opportunity for IAI to participate a member of the B20 Integrity and Compliance Task Force. It is an honor for IAI to contribute to our collective efforts in preparing the policy paper and contributing to the G20 recommendations. That's it, end my opening speech for today. Wish you all the best and have a great day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Professor Mardiasmo, for opening this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, next we would like to kindly invite Bapak Haryanto Budiman, the Chair of Integrity and Compliance Task Force B20 Indonesia, to deliver his remarks. Pak Haryanto Budiman, the screen is yours.
The Honorable Professor Mardiasmo, President of IAI, Ibu Sinta Kamdani, Chair of B20 Indonesia, Ms. Mardi McBrien, Director of Strategic Alliances of IFRS Foundation, Professor Siddhartha Utama, Council Member of IAI, and also a moderator for today's panel discussion, honorable speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon from Jakarta. As the Chair of B20 Indonesia Integrity and Compliance Task Force, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar titled Strategic Leader Forum, Sustainability Governance as the Foundation of Value Creation. This is the third side event of B20 Indonesia Integrity and Compliance Task Force, where we will discuss the importance of sustainability governance to create value through advancing innovative, inclusive, and collaborative growth. On August 18, 2022, we organized the B20 G20 Dialogue. to formally introduce the 4 policy recommendations to the G20 representatives and to the public at large. The first policy recommendation is about promoting sustainable governance in business to support ESG initiatives. This recommendation talks about promoting standardized approach and measures, compliance efforts, effective monitoring, and independent assurance towards implementation of sustainable governance. The second policy recommendation is about fostering collective action to alleviate integrity risk. Here we encourage optimization in the fundamental safeguards of integrity and transparency when interacting with business networks and government parties. The third policy recommendation is about fostering agility in counteract measures to combat money laundering, terrorist financing risk. Under the new normal, we see the need to adapt and enhance integrity framework based on changing landscape of money laundering and terrorist financing risk, alongside further enhancement of governance and collaborative work to promote effectiveness of the counteract measures. The fourth policy recommendation is about strengthening governance to mitigate exacerbated cybercrime risk. The last recommendation explores on optimization of existing organizational resources to minimize exacerbated cybercrime risk and encourage systemic cybercrime resilience and collaboration. We constructed 9 policy actions and 40 policy sub-actions to make the 4 policy recommendations more concrete and actionable. In today's discussion, we will focus on the first policy recommendation, which is to promote sustainable governance in business to support ESG initiatives. There are 2 policy actions supporting this recommendation. On the first policy action, we emphasize sustainable governance starting from the principles, board management, audit and risk committees, compliance function, internal audits, all the way to governance framework. On the second policy action, the focus is on integrating and standardizing sustainable governance by promoting and accelerating the adoption of a high-quality, globally converged and accepted sustainability reporting standard and maximizing sustainable governance compliance monitoring and independent assurance initiatives. There are 4 objectives. The first objective is to reduce issues related to ESG. An effective sustainable governance is essential to ensure that ESG initiatives turn into concrete action and systemic change, which then affects the integrity of ESG disclosures by determining whether the indicators are ethically pursued and properly reported. ESG standards help companies to better measure and manage their exposure to ESG-related risk and to become better corporate citizens by measuring, disclosing, and managing the impacts that they create. The second objective is to mitigate integrity violation risk. Recent conflicts and prolonged pandemic caused by COVID-19 are disrupting business operations and related supply chains, further increasing societal gap and disparities. As a result, the so-called integrity violation risk is also increased. By implementing effective sustainable governance practices, we expect to see fewer instances of fraud and other integrity violations over time, which could result in lower cost of capital, lower volatility, and improvement in the overall competitive advantage. The third objective is to develop a better investment environment. With changes in global landscape caused by regulatory demands, stakeholder capitalisms, and changes of consumer preferences, businesses gradually understand the importance of incorporating non-financial metrics in assessing their operations. A public stance on ESG issues faced by the company once considered only as a public relations strategy, is now becoming increasingly important for long-term competitive advantage. How the business is responding to issues related becomes an important parameter to define business value. Global investors, when deciding to invest, are increasingly focusing on sustainability, reviewing all aspects related to ESG, not just financial performance. The fourth and final objective is to build a fairer economy. The call for more transparent, reliable, and higher quality reporting related to ESG implementation is getting stronger. However, today's disclosure schemes do not serve businesses or their stakeholders well, as the current reports are often lacking in terms of comparable ESG information. Therefore, adoption of high-quality, globally converged and accepted sustainability reporting standards, including standardized ESG data and reporting criteria, supported by assurance of the information presented, become crucial in countries. Having such reports would help investors and other stakeholders make a fair comparison between companies, which in the end will build a fairer economy. Throughout this year, we organized a number of side events to raise awareness of the issues related to integrity and compliance, and also ways to address them. These side events are attended by business people, government officials, and also representatives from civil society. This is in line with the intent to have collaborative work amongst the three elements: government, business, and civil society, to make a real impact. We held two side events in April and June of this year, and we'll also organize a few more events before the B20 summit in November. We will organize a full-day hybrid, offline and online side event on October 10th in Bandung. I would like to use this opportunity to invite all of you to that event. Before finishing my remark, I would like to thank the organizers of today's webinar, the International Federation of Accountants, and the Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants. I would also thank all the speakers from various entities and companies, from the IFRS Foundation, from Indonesia Financial Services Authority or OJK, from PT Pertamina Persero, from PT Vale Indonesia, from BlackRock Investment Stewardship, and from PT Bank Rakyat Indonesia Persero Tbk. Lastly, I would like to thank the organizing committee for ensuring a smooth running of this event. In closing, please do enjoy the rest of the webinar and look forward to your participation at our next side event. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Haryanto, for delivering the remarks. Before we move on to our next agenda, I would like to invite Pak Haryanto to join us for a group picture. And now I would like to also invite Ms. Mardi McBrien, Profesor Siddhartha Utama, Bapak Muhammad Miftah, Bapak Daniel Purba, Profesor Lindawati Gani, Mr. Sinbowon, Bapak Ahmad Solihin Lutfianto, and Ibu Elizarni Husin to open up your camera and smile because we will have a group picture. We will have two sessions of group picture. Let's have the first one. On my 3, 1, 2, and 3. Another one. 1, 2, and 3. Next, I would like to invite Bapak Ardan Adi Perdana, Ibu Rosita Uli Sinaga, Bapak Dwi Setiawan, Ibu Kusumaningsi Angkawijaya, Bapak Profesor Bambang Pamungkas, Bapak Heri Subowo, Bapak Hendang Tanus Jaya, Ibu Liani Leo, and Bapak David Sijabat to open your camera and smile. We will have our second group picture together. Okay. On my 3, 1, 2, and 3. Another 1, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we would like to kindly invite Ibu Sinta Wijaya Kamdani, the Chair of B20 Indonesia, to deliver the remarks.
Profesor Madiasmo, Presiden of Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia, Bapak Haryanto Budiman, Chair of Integrity and Compliance Task Force B20, Ibu Nika Widiawati, B20 Energy Sustainability and Climate Task Force Chair, and President, Director, and CEO of PT Pertamina Tbk, distinguished guests, colleagues, and all invited speakers, good afternoon. To start, I would like to thank Professor Madiasmo, the President of Ikatan Angkutan Indonesia, for inviting me to this respectful event. Thank you for your tremendous support since the beginning of B20 Indonesia, particularly in the Integrity and Compliance Task Force. As the representative of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and also the chair of B20 Indonesia, the business engagement group of G20, I'm honored to share with you how sustainability governance has been incorporated into our B20 policy recommendation across different task forces. Although sustainable has become the main value of our work, I'm invited to mainly dig deeper on 3 B20 task forces, namely Integrity and Compliance, Finance and Infrastructure, as well as Energy, Sustainability and Climate. After months of working in forming this policy recommendation, I'm delighted to see how they have been carefully drafted with a mixture of different thoughts and insight from businesses across the G20 countries, even beyond. Just last week, we had the B20 G20 dialogue presenting the policy recommendation of INC task force to the government. During this advocacy process, we continue to push and leverage collaboration between business players and the government, which will certainly be consequential to achieve a greater output in the future. In fact, our policy recommendation of integrity and compliance has provided innovative policy regarding environment, social, and governance that covered issues and interests related to sustainable governance in business sectors. However, to achieve this agenda, the business community and government should intensify more policy action to ensure the ESG initiative in the form of, first, promoting sustainable governance in business to support ESG initiative, including by improving sustainable governance measures and optimizing sustainable governance compliance, disclosures, and monitoring. Second, foster collective action to alleviate integrity risks through some actions such as cultivate and strengthen integrity through business-to-business collaboration, facilitate integrity in business to government interactions, promoting inclusiveness between public-private sector entities to ensure trust, transparency, and high standards of integrity. These 2 key policy recommendations from the Integrity and Compliance Task Force echo and enhance similar key messages of the 2 task forces, especially for the 2 policies related to sustainable governance. For instance, in the Finance and Infrastructure Task Force, we agreed to embrace improved global financial services regulation to achieve an improved balance between growth, productivity, and stability. Moreover, the Energy, Sustainability and Climate Task Force highlights the importance of enhancing global cooperation to ensure a just, orderly, and affordable transition to sustainable energy use across developed and developing countries. The ESC Task Force believes that this policy recommendation and action could help advance the ESG in day-to-day activities of business sector as a tool for accelerating the just, orderly, and affordable energy transition. Indeed, sustainable governance is a critical component in our today's business activities, and it should be continuously pushed. Therefore, I'm encouraging business to consider environmental, including climate and biodiversity, social, human, and economic impact in their business decision, and focus on long-term sustainable value creation rather than short-term financial value. Applying sustainability governance could bring many benefits to the company. 33% of businesses were integrating sustainable practices to improve operational efficiency and cut costs, resulting in a 19% increase of profit. Over 10 years, socially clients saved over $11 million through sustainable waste management and transparency. The trend of having responsible and sustainable consumption is increasing significantly and therefore must be followed with sustainable production for businesses. Sustainable business can be defined as operating a business without negatively impact the environment. I'm delighted to see how business community now have converted their business model into more sustainable businesses. To give an illustration of how much impact that business could give, 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emission, and they are the same actors who would significantly impact and account for 60% of emission cuts by 2030. In short, good governance fosters sustainability, creates sustainable values, and help companies achieve these values. Businesses also realize long-term benefit, including reducing risks, attracting new investors and shareholders, and increasing the company's equity. By all means, it can improve business performance, help it become more stable and productive, and unlock new opportunity. Allow me to touch a bit on how the UN SDG play a role in the process of governing sustainability for businesses. As I have been advocating this for years, some reflections are worth to share with you. Businesses have progressively united organizations and entities from different sectors to tackle sustainability challenges, playing a critical role in achieving the SDG. Companies who have embedded the SDG into their business model to have sustainable governance have shown a better shape of company management and resiliency. The SDG are designed to be a platform for businesses to raise their concern and propose solutions. The B20 Indonesia believe that the SDG are the key driver that have paved the way for many companies to implement sustainable governance more remarkably. Therefore, aligning with the SDG goals 8, 9, and 17, B20 Indonesia acknowledged the importance of how lack of good governance could affect the well-being of companies and people in the future. I hope today, through this event, we can restate the importance of sustainability governance to create value through advancing innovative, inclusive, and collaborative growth involving multi-sector such as regulator, investors, businesses, and state-owned enterprises. Furthermore, as you may have heard, B20 Indonesia seeks to not only end with policy recommendation. We aim to make our work here last beyond the B20 Indonesia presidency through 6 legacy programs. 2 of them have high relevance to sustainable governance. First, the Carbon Center of Excellence that will help businesses understand and navigate carbon trading topics through its Knowledge Hub and Practice Sharing Center. By increasing businesses' knowledge and capability to develop the business case for green projects, we aim to increase the number of bankable sustainable projects that are available for financing. Second, the Global Blended Finance Alliance, a new multilateral organization designed to scale and replicate technological and financial innovation and solution included blended finance to unlock investment in climate action and the SDG managed by Trihita Karana. One way to achieve the B20 G20 goals is predominantly through global cooperation and solidarity. Intensifying relations between the business communities of G20 countries and worldwide is essential to implement our policy recommendation. Therefore, making the B20 and G20 summit a success is not an option. I'm looking forward to having your participation at the summit on 13-14 of November in Bali, along with your insight, concrete contribution, and actual partnership with businesses from around the globe. Thank you for listening, and I hope you continue to monitor the B20 progress and outcome.
Thank you, Ibu Sinta Kamdani. Ladies and gentlemen, this webinar is part of our ongoing effort to raising the business community's awareness towards the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standard and Sustainability Governance. And now we would like to hear the remarks from Ms. Mardi McBrien, the Director of Strategic Alliances at IFRS Foundation. To Mardi, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to start by thanking the esteemed hosts today and all of the fantastic speakers. It's a real privilege to be talking alongside you and joining this conversation today. And well done to the IAI and IFAC for another fabulous webinar, another fabulous session in your series. Truly spectacular. The IFRS Foundation was established over 20 years ago to harmonize accounting definitions and approaches with the mandate to bring trust and transparency and resilience to the world's markets. So it's no surprise, based on the success of the International Accounting Standards Board in doing that in 2021, when the market was asked if the IFRS Foundation should tackle the challenges of harmonizing and setting sustainability standards, that the market overwhelmingly responded, yes, go fast and don't stop at climate. And the approach was welcomed by IOSCO, the G20, the Financial Stability Board, and more than 57 countries when it was announced at COP21 in Glasgow. The consultation for the first two standards has just closed at the end of July, with deliberations set to conclude by the end of 2022, with the first standards being published in 2023, early 2023, that is, followed by a digital taxonomy. In Q4 this year, we will also be publishing an agenda consultation, which will be asking the market what we should be working on next: water, biodiversity, social issues, many topics that the speaker before me covered. We're also working with countries around the world to support adoption and interoperability with existing country approaches. There are many benefits to this and to securing high quality adoption of our standards. Some have been touched on already by the previous speakers, but they include transparency and building trust and addressing issues such as greenwashing, which are becoming more prevalent in markets. Increasing comparability and decision usefulness of information reported by companies for investors so they can allocate the capital more efficiently. Lowering the cost of capital, increasing quality and reliability of data, increasing market liquidity, increasing corporate investment and efficiency, as well as international capital flows. And cost efficiency. An IFAC report in 2018 cited that fragmented financial reporting costs businesses globally $780 billion a year. We do not want similar sorts of numbers affecting sustainability reporting. That money could much better be used to address the sustainability challenges. So sustainability standards are really, really important for that standardized approach. But standardization does not mean rigid adherence. There is plenty of flexibility in the draft standards for accommodating jurisdictional requirements and innovation. And governance is essential to produce high quality sustainability reporting that will have all of those benefits. Sustainability has traditionally, in many businesses, been siloed, often in communication and marketing departments. And we need to move it right to the top and have it become a whole board sport, if you like. Ownership needs to start with the board, which needs to put in place the appropriate structures, control systems and processes, and goes beyond delegation of risk compliance, delegation to risk compliance and ethics committees. It needs to be embraced by all. And to set the tone from the top on sustainability reporting, will be absolutely essential to produce high quality information. Without it, teams lack structure, motivation, organization, activity, and the resources to devote to reporting and producing the high quality information that markets need. Those charged with governance need to provide the necessary decision-making, integration of sustainability, finance, risk, resource allocation, and accountability to get sustainability reporting and disclosure right. Risk governance is also essential to sustainability reporting to assure the systems of sustainability My apologies. Risk governance is also essential to sustainability reporting to ensure we get the right systems in place for recognizing the risks and opportunities and their impacts, setting performance targets and KPIs for mitigation and adaptation, for example. And let's not forget, there are opportunities to be captured as part of risk management as well. The CEO's approach to leadership is key to signal the motives behind corporate engagement in sustainability matters and investors' future evaluation of risks. So in closing, good governance is essential for reporting sustainability information to capital markets using disclosure standards and critical to creating value in the short, medium, and long term, and telling one clear, consistent story on how the business does that to the market. But reporting is just the last step. It's the tool to communicate the story to the providers of capital. But there's so much action that comes before reporting that will have an impact on value creation and the company and the planet's resilience. So thank you again to the organizers. Truly fantastic event. And I'm really looking forward to the panel and speakers and question and answer that follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mardi. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the panel discussion, I would like to kindly invite you to observe the following housekeeping rules. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel discussion for today will be discussing the topic of sustainability governance as the foundation of value creation. This event will describe the importance of sustainability governance to create value through advancing innovative, inclusive, and collaborative growth, and share the various perspectives from regulators, investors, rating agency, multinational company, and state-owned enterprise. Before we start the session, I would like to kindly inform you that all of the participants, not only to those of you who join us via Zoom, but also via YouTube, you are entitled to get up to 4 CPD hours. You will need to join our post-event survey at the end of the session. Before I invite Professor Siddhartha to host the session, I would like to read a profile of Professor Siddhartha Utama. Professor Siddhartha Utama is IAI Council member. He is the member of Integrity and Compliance Task Force B20 Indonesia. Currently, he is a professor of Faculty Economics and Business at Universitas Indonesia. His main research and interests are corporate governance, finance, and investment. Professor Siddhartha was the member of International Accounting Education Standard Board from IFAC in 2015 until 2019. He also serves as independent commissioner and a member of audit committee in several major public listed companies in Indonesia. Professor Siddhartha Utama earned a PhD in accounting from Texas A&M University and MBA from Indiana University. He has also earned bachelor's in accounting from Universitas Indonesia. And he's a proud chartered accountant in Indonesia. And now I would like to invite Professor Siddhartha Utama to host the session.
Thank you, Monica. The Honorable Professor Mardiasmo, President IAI, Ibu Sinta Wijaya Kamdani, Chair B20 Indonesia, Pak Haryanto Budiman, Chair Integrity and Compliance Task Force B20 Indonesia, Ms. Mardi McBrien, Strategic Alliance Director, IFRS Foundation, distinguished panelists and participants, good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I'm very honored to moderate these sessions, a very important topic with highly distinguished panelists. And as you can see earlier, all the distinguished speakers have emphasized the importance of practicing sustainable governance and also the benefits deriving from practicing this sustainable governance, because it's very important in the Integrity and Compliance Task Force, it is put in the first policy recommendation, as mentioned earlier by Pak Haryanto. So again, I just want to read again what is the policy recommendations. So it is said that to promote sustainable governance in business to support ESG initiatives. And based on this recommendation, there are two policy actions. The first one is improve sustainable governance measures, and the second one is promoting and accelerating the adoption of high-quality sustainability reporting standards. So Ms. Mardi McBrien has addressed the second policy actions with regard to accelerating the adoption of high-quality sustainability reporting standards. Also, the two previous webinars that have been conducted by B20 in collaboration with IAI also have discussed more in depth about the importance of having this highly converged global sustainability reporting standards. So the webinar that we're having today focus on the first policy actions, which is to improve sustainable governance measures. And we know that practicing, when we talk about sustainability governance, it also relates to the importance of sustainable development goals. According to the Sustainable Development Goals, we need when we make activities currently, to develop that meets the need of the present, to increase the welfare of ourselves. We need to make sure that what we do now does not compromise the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So that's the basic principle of SDGs. So practicing sustainability governance should promote the Sustainable Development Goals, because it will benefit not only the companies but also the stakeholders, the communities, the environment, and so on. However, if we look at what the reality now is that many companies still view corporate responsibility in a very narrow way, seeing CSR is only as like a donation, like only a philanthropic activity. So they just allocate a budget for these activities and just delegate to for example, the community relation to make some donations. And other companies also view that they just have to comply, with all the regulations with the purpose of protecting environment, social, and so on. So just compliance with the regulation is adequate, according to these companies. However, as mentioned by the previous speakers, these are not enough. Okay, so that's why it is very important companies to practice sustainability governance, because when we talk about governance, it relates to the responsibility of the boards. In the case of Indonesia, is the supervisory board and also the board of management or the board of directors. So it is their duties. These two boards, the supervisory board and also the board of directors, they have to make sure, that the company really integrate, sustainability matters in the business model of the companies. And to do that, it should start from the top, tone at the top. For example, like the duties of the board, should also specifically specify, what are their responsibilities with regard to the promoting sustainabilities. And so that's the purpose of this session, ladies and gentlemen. In this session, hopefully, we will learn more in depth, how companies implement sustainability governance, and also the importance of regulations or incentives for companies to practice sustainability governance. So that's why in this panelists, we invite experts from various backgrounds. We will have a speaker from the regulator. In this case, is from OJK, the Financial Service Authority, because in Indonesia, OJK, or the Financial Service Authority, in 2017 issued a regulations requiring companies to promote sustainable development. And this includes banks, insurance, pension funds, and also all listed companies or companies obtaining long-term capital from the capital markets. They are required to promote sustainable development. So that's the first speaker. This is also, we want to emphasize the importance of the regulations that should encourage companies to practice sustainable development. So Pak Muhammad Miftah, Banking Research Director from Financial Service Authority, will be the speaker with regard to the regulations. The other speakers, okay, we will have a bank from BRI. In this case, is Pak Ahmad Solihin Lutfianto, the Compliance Director from Bank Rakyat Indonesia. So Pak Ahmad Lutfianto will share Bank Rakyat Indonesia's experience in implementing sustainability governance, including, for example, like the structure of the board that should encourage the practice of sustainability governance, and also the benefits of practicing this, of implementing sustainability governance in terms of the long-term value creations, and also, of course, the challenges, in experienced by BRI with regard to the implementation, and also how to overcome the challenge. That's the second speakers. And the next two speakers comes from the industries that many investors view these industries as a high-risk sectors in terms of sustainability. And that's why also in B20, we have the task force on energy and sustainability. So this is also related actually to this task force. So that's why we invite two distinguished speakers. The first one is from PT Pertamina, Pak Daniel Purba, the Senior Vice President Strategy and Investment at Pertamina. And also we invite Ibu Febriani from the President Director and CEO from PT Vale Indonesia Tbk. So we will have the sharing experience from distinguished speakers from the perspective of companies from the real sectors, while Pak Solihin will provide his views from the finance sectors. So we will have also views from the two companies in the real sectors, especially in the energy sector and also mining sector. And last but not least, the last speaker will represent the views of institutional investors, with regard to sustainability, and especially how the role of institutional investors in encouraging companies, especially publicly listed companies, to practice measures or to initiate measures to improve their performance in terms of ESG, environmental, social, and also governance. We know that in the past 10 or 20 years, the share of institutional investors in making investment in capital market all over the world, including Indonesia, steadily increased. So now institutional investors are major players in the capital market. And of course, if they then persuade companies, to improve their performance in terms of ESGs, this should have a very significant impact, to the performance of these listed companies or public companies all over the world. So that's the summary of what we're going to have for this next 2 hours. And also, we would like to have this discussion to be interactive as possible. So after each panelist will have a 15 minutes presentation, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the panelists. But at the same time, we also have a Q&A, question and answer special room where you can type your questions, please address to whom you ask the questions. in the Q&A room, and I would like also to invite the panelists, if possible, to also directly provide answers in the Q&A room. Okay, so that's the overview of what we're going to have in the next 2 hours. So first, I would like to invite Bapak Muhammad Miftah, the Banking Research Director, Financial Service Authority. Before that, let me introduce Bapak Muhammad Miftah. He served as a Director of Banking Research, Department of Banking Research and Regulations, Indonesia Financial Service Authority since year 2013. Pak Miftah have more than 14 years experience in banking research. He holds a bachelor degree in economic accounting from Universitas Padjadjaran and MBA in finance, Kelley School of Business in Indiana University, Bloomington, USA. So Pak Miftah, I'm at the same school with you, so go Hoosiers, Pak. And so please, Pak Miftah, the time is yours. The time is 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Professor Mardiasmo, President AII, Mr. Haryanto Budiman, Chair Integrity and Compliance Task Force, B20 Indonesia, Mrs. Sinta Wijaya Kamdani, Chair B20 Indonesia, Ms. Mardi McRyan from ISSB, and the moderator, Professor Siddhartha Utama, Council Member of AII. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon from Jakarta. It is my great pleasure to be here today. I'd like to thank the organizer that raised the important and interesting issue about the sustainability governance. As we may know that Indonesia has committed to achieve sustainable development goals that promote the balance of economic, social, and environmental aspect. Indonesia has also committed to achieve net zero carbon emission in 2060. To achieve this, we need a transition from business as usual development approach to a low carbon path. Therefore, the government has put low carbon development policies as part of Indonesia National Medium-Term Development Plan of 2022-2024, emphasizing synergy between climate action and economic development. Research has shown that the advantages for Indonesia to embrace a low carbon pathway. Yet, the question then arises, how much would it cost to pursue a zero carbon pathway, and how can financial sector contribute to achieve it? For the first question, according to Bappenas, transforming Indonesia's economy to achieve net zero will require both shifts in existing investment and significant new financing. The cost would start at around $20 billion per year in 2021-2022, and average 150 up to 200 billion per year for the period of 2021-2030. And in 2031 up to 2040, investment need would rise to around 700 billion up to $1 trillion per year. And in 2041 up to 2050, then the need would be 1.3 up to 1.6 trillion per year. And in 2051 up to 2070, the investment needed is 2.1 up to 2.2 trillion per year. So maybe for the second question, we can go to the slides. Slide 3, please. Yeah, OJK has been encouraging financial sector to actively contribute to achieve a zero carbon pathway. In this regard, OJK has conducted several initiatives. we already launched the Sustainable Finance Roadmap, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Moreover, the regulation published to support sustainable finance are POJK number 51, POJK 03/2017, concerning the implementation of sustainable finance for financial service institution, issuers, and public companies, and POJK number 60, POJK 04/2017, regarding the issuance and the terms of green bond. Next slide. And the strategic target of the roadmap Phase 1 include the establishment of the ecosystem which support the acceleration of sustainable finance, increasing the supply and demand for environmentally friendly funds and financial instruments, strengthening the surveillance and coordination, and last but not least is increasing awareness of the importance of developing sustainable finance in Indonesia. Next slide. Sustainable Finance Roadmap Phase 2, focusing on sustainable finance ecosystem, developing through 7 components. Yeah, those ecosystem development is OJK's commitment in realizing transparent regulation, building synergies in cooperation with relevant ministries, agencies, and stakeholders, as well as improving the capabilities of the financial industry. Next slide. And from the cascading of the roadmap Phase 2, OJK has strategic initiatives in order to ensure the effectiveness of the sustainable finance principles, implementation, and address climate-related issues, and establish the Sustainable Financial Task Force. Next slide. Indonesia Green Taxonomy is important, yeah, because it can provide a better understanding for financial services sector and facilitate them in the classification of green activities within the development of their financial product and or services portfolio. The Green Taxonomy is a classification of economic activities which support environmental protection and management efforts, as well as mitigation and adaptation to climate change. The strategic objective of Green Taxonomy is to encourage innovation in developing green products, projects, or initiatives in accordance with the government's threshold. While the establishment of the Task Force Sustainable Finance will serve as an integrated platform for coordination among financial institutions and as a tool to improve green financing in our financial market. This task force is, continuing from previously the first movers of financial institution. Next slide. In the banking sector, banks are annually required to submit a sustainable financial action plan. The second, sustainable financial implementation survey, and quarterly green portfolio monitoring. That's we are required from bank to submit the reports to make the portfolio of the and measure the progress of implementation of the sustainable regulation that we are issued. And next slide. Previously we have 8 banks designated as first movers, along with 7 other financial institutions, from the Indonesia Sustainable Finance Initiatives, or IKBI. The members, financing, green financing from the members amounted up 809.95 trillion in 2020. And increasing, yeah, from the previously from 2018, 190 trillion rupiah. And this AKBA transformed to the task force. Next slide. Currently, OJK is preparing to publish the consultative paper regarding integration of climate-related risk into banks' risk management framework. This consultative papers refers to recently published by BCBS document which is BCBS document, principles for the effective management and supervision of climate-related financial risk. It will elaborate 12 principles for the management of climate-related risks that should be adopted by banks. We seek to receive comments from the banks and stakeholders on the consultative paper, while for the climate-related risk disclosure standard, yeah, we'll refer to a climate-related disclosure published by ISSB that we are currently also on the early stage to make a survey. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, achieving low carbon emission requires a strong collaboration among stakeholders. I am very pleased to see how much commitment and how much willingness there is from the participant of the broader economy to move forward to the low carbon future and to make financial markets more sustainable. What we need is to do incentivize green finance across the entire investment chain and change the mindset of those who manage our money. And we see that this is already happening. So that good news. Really appreciate for the commitment from the financial institution to support sustainable finance. I believe we need to work together at national and local level to achieve nationally determined contribution target. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak. So we can see that because there is a target from the government to that Indonesia have zero net emission by 2060. So, and this require huge investment and financing in implementing this target, to ensure that Indonesia can achieve this target. And as a result, OJK made a lot of initiatives, make a roadmap containing regulatory initiatives to promote sustainability finance. Very interesting. Thank you very much, Pak. If I may ask question, Pak, to Pak Miftah, these initiatives have been around for past 5 years. Could you provide your view, with regard to the response from the banks, and especially from the mid-sized or small banks with the regulatory requirements imposed by OJK? Are there any challenges, or if there, what have been done, to overcome the challenge? Thank you, Pak.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. As I mentioned before, that starting 2017, we have first movers, yeah, banks that committed and prepare for joining to sustainable finance. And those first movers, now they are joined with, because in OJK previously the works of sustainable finance is based on banking sector, but we realized that not only banking sector, so that the initiatives move to another compartment that need to consolidate all the efforts of the financial sector, banking and financial market, and also non-bank financial institution. So there issue the green taxonomy. The green taxonomy is not an easy thing to do, I think, that's also a challenge because from the financial sector, we, until now, we think that we already, more than halfway. But on practice, we need to, to also prepare the real sector to realize and comply with the sustainable measures, so that the green taxonomy will bridge the achievement of the portfolio, Pak Sidarta.
Okay, makasih. Thank you, Pak. Okay, so next we will move to the second speaker. I would like to invite Daniel Purba, the Senior Vice President Strategy and Investment, PT Pertamina. First, I would like to introduce him. He is the Senior Vice President Strategy and Investment at PT Pertamina, whom he has spent his whole career in the oil and gas industry. He joined the company in 1991 and since then has a stellar track record in corporate strategic business, supply chains, LNG management, and oil gas trading. Pak Daniel holds master degree in mechanical engineering from University of Indonesia and BA in petroleum engineering from Bandung Institute of Technology. So, Pak Daniel, if you can share your the Pertamina's experience, in implementing sustainable governance, for example, like in the how the board structure of Pertamina has evolved, in response for this initiative, and also what are the benefits, for implementing this sustainability governance, and also including challenges that Pertamina may have been exposed, and also overcoming these challenges. The floor is yours, Pak. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon from Jakarta to all participants on this webinar. It is a great honor for us from Pertamina to take a chance to share how do we deal with the sustainability issue in the middle of the energy transition, which is currently move around the world. So it is a great honor for us to take this chance on this webinar to share how Pertamina manage our ESG issues. I would like to share in two big part in this opportunity on my presentation. First, I would like to share related to the ESG commitment, governance, and performance. And the second, of course, I need to share with you what is the strategy and the initiatives working now within Pertamina organization. Next slide. Next slide. Let me start with Pertamina's commitment in implementing environmental, social, and governance aspect, or ESG in short. It is driven by our concern to not compromise the ability of future generations in meeting their needs. ESG is the exciting issues that we are facing right now. We develop our sustainability policy, which is stipulates our goal to be recognized as a company friendly, social, responsible. This policy, we have established a sustainability committee, which is chaired by our president, director, and CEO, with the 3 members from the board. And in the same time, we follow global sustainability practice in making sure that our initiatives are internationally acceptable by following global principles such as SDG, TCFD, including in participating in international activities such as UN Global Impact, CDP, and making sustainability disclosure that is compliant to the global standards. In the operational level, we have also implemented numerous international standard governance by ISO, such as ISO 14001 and environmental management, and ISO 45001 on occupational health and safety. Through a holistic implementation of the ESG, Pertamina has received an ESG risk rating by Sustainalytics of 28.1. That's our ESG score, and was assessed to be a medium risk of experiencing a material financial impact from ESG factors. With this score, Pertamina sits on the 15th place out of 252 companies in the global oil gas industry, and on the 8th position in the integrated oil and gas sub industry. In the same cluster, in the medium risk, Pertamina sit with global companies such as Repsol, Eni, Total, and is also, we could acknowledge that in terms of ESG, Pertamina is better than BP, Exxon, and Chevron, based on the Sustainalytics assessment. Specifically, our initiative in climate has brought us to rank 49 out of 100 in the oil gas company ranking rated by the World Benchmarking Alliance in the climate and energy. So this is this at the current time. On the next slide, in our organization, to ensure all of this, the project leader of the implementation team for ESG committee is headed by our VP Investor Relation, with the members of team task force that come from all of our business operation organization, which is now we structure it under 6 sub-holding business. Next slide. Again, of course, how do we achieve our ESG? Because it will help, how Pertamina will grow and achieve our target to become a 100 billion market value company. So we already, set the capex allocation for the 5 years from 2020 to 2024, around 70 to 80 billion US dollars. So this is quite a big amount of investment, where we would like to ensure the sustainability of the company in the long run in the future. Next slide. Of course, there are some threat and opportunity that facing Pertamina business right now. However, based on the rating itself, we will continuously, improve our portfolio business to ensure the sustainability of the business through all of the stream business that Pertamina currently operating, from upstream to midstream and up to downstream, as well as some supporting companies for supporting our core business activities. Next slide. Yeah, I think it's already well explained on the previous slide. Next slide. A part of the B20, it is one of the Pertamina's contribution to ensure this B20 presidencies. We support the B20 by developing the impactful policy recommendation where Pertamina COO has been appointed to become the chair of the B20 for Task Force, Energy, Sustainability, and Climate. And we work together with the global business leaders to address the energy-related policies from all regions in the world representing the energy business. Next slide. Next, how is the strategy and the initiative of Pertamina? In implementing this sustainability strategy, we already set what we call the 10 sustainability focuses on the next slide. That will be our focus in all of our business stream that cover environmental factor, social factor, and also the governance. So on environmental, we focus on the three issues, three focus, which is addressing climate change and also reducing environmental footprint and protecting biodiversity. On the social, we are focusing on health and safety, prevention of major accidents, employee recruiting, development and retention, innovation and research, as well as community engagement and impact. And last but not least, two governance focus would be cyber security and corporate ethics. And we already portrayed all of those 9 focus, sustainability focus, that also as a part of the 10 sustainability focus. As I said, we already determined on the next slide 16 initiatives that managed by holding company and executed by all the sub-holding and subsidiaries level. So it is part of the SDG. So we tagging all the activities to the SDG initiative. Next slide. And to attempt of increasing NRE portion by 17%, that is our target in 2030 from our portfolio. So, you know, we have set this goal, you know, on our portfolio business, including the gas portion from 3% to 19% in the same period in 2030, while refined products and LPG are expected also significantly decrease from 96% to 64% in 2030. So, and other initiative that we are developing right now, including, you know, doubling our geothermal capacity, which is renewable energy that Pertamina already been in years in doing this geothermal business. And in addition to that, you know, on our refinery business, we will develop the green refinery to produce the green fuels, including gasoline, diesel, as well as jet in the future. And also hydrogen as the future of the energy. We'll start it by using our geothermal electricity capacity to produce the green hydrogen. And other new and renewable energy, we are going to, of course, develop on the solar PV, hydropower, and wind power in the next coming years. And as part of the developing the EV ecosystem in Indonesia, we are now developing our EV battery and energy storage system. So we take a holding company of as a part of the our support in terms of supporting the environmental, friendly, the circular carbon economy also is part of our journey right now. While we are developing the carbon capture, utilization, and storage, where all the CO2 emission that coming from our own operation and also maybe from the industry in Indonesia can be captured, and we can use that CO2 for enhancing the oil and gas production, and also we can store such emission to protect the environmental in the long run. I think that's some of our activity. On the next slide, maybe we can show that our net zero emission roadmap. We are setting up to support the national NZE target in 2060. So we are working how to support this target by managing all of our carbon accounting from where we do the emission and how we can reduce it, as well as absorb it in the long run. In the next slide, we'll show you just to emphasize some of our project, as I already also mentioned, in terms of solar, clean energy, also gas as a transition of the energy, and also how Pertamina already launched the green diesel, that's on the Jakarta ePrix 2022, and also we already do the pilot test by using the jet fuel J2.4, so 2.4% of bioafter from the palm oil base. We already tested with using the aircraft, and also on the Cilacap refinery, we already can produce this biojet, from the palm oil with a capacity 8,000 barrels per day. Next slide. And in terms of managing the environmental and reduce the emission, we already set up the target and achieve our target to reduce 7.4 million ton of CO2 by 2010 to 2021, where it is coming from majority from the reducing the flare gas, and also do the energy efficiency. We can reduce 1 million ton of CO2 equivalent, and also fuel gasification and other CO2 commercialization in upstream, downstream, and geothermal activity. Of course, again, in the next slide, we'll show that we work together with all other company. Of course, there are many other company that not showing on this chart that we work together to ensure our sustainability initiative can be implemented and delivered in the coming years. Of course, there are some challenge on the next slide, which is basically divided into two challenges. First, of course, on the technology, and the second on the financing. However, we have worked together, partnership with some companies to ensure that we do the collaboration to produce a clean carbon-free LNG, and also to apply the carbon capture, utilization, and storage, as well as on the developing oil and gas research and technology in upstream, downstream, and renewable energy. In terms of financing, we are now exercising some financing that available related to the sustainability, and also the green bond through some of our subholding business that are working on the geothermal power as well as gas. Apart from that, we proudly to share that Pertamina has received some awards on the next slide, where we are sitting on the number 223 on the last Fortune Global 500 as the only Indonesian company that lists on the Fortune Global 500, and some others award that we receive locally and also regionally from many entities as well as association. So I think it is our intention as well to be active in the community to support and promote the sustainability issue on the ESG issue. So on the next slide, we participate in some international as well as domestic recognition. Next slide. That we join some company and association to take part in supporting the ESG movement and to provide the clean energy as well as good environmental in the future. That's, I think, will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pak Daniel. First of all, congratulations Pertamina for being able to be in the top 20% companies in the energy sector according to Sustainalytics. I think that's a very excellent performance, and also congratulations for being able to be in the top Fortune 500, the only Indonesian companies. And some interesting points pointed by Pak Daniel is the commitment of the top management as reflected in the establishment of the Pertamina Sustainability Committee, chaired directly by the President Director and also CEO. And also Pertamina has the long-term target and also a strategy connecting to sustainable development goals, and also a measurable long-term target. So there is a specific quantitative target. I think that's very good because in many cases, companies in Indonesia, they publish a very nice sustainability report, but the report doesn't contain any measurable targets. So it's like all of them are just like a policies, but not really disclosing the achievement and also the target. So I think that's a very good performance of Pertamina. And also another point that I think is also very important is that Pertamina also established partnership for sustainability initiatives. I think this is also actually it's in accordance with the sustainability principles. One of the principles is that encourage companies to have a partnership, and also this is also in accordance with the OECD principles also actually, Pak, because one of the principle 4 role of stakeholders, this principle also encourage companies to have active collaborations, with stakeholders, and also. Because the principle believes only by having collaborations you can achieve your sustainability target. So I think that's also another example, a very excellent practice by Pertamina. And also this also explained by Pak Daniel. This partnership actually are very useful in overcoming challenges. And I have a questions, Pak Daniel, if you can provide the answer. I'm very interested with the Sustainability Committee chaired by the President, Director, and CEO. Could you elaborate more on this? For example, like how this committee is related to have a communication or coordination with the BOD, Board of Directors, and also the Board of Commissioners, the Supervisory Board. What is the role of the BOC with regard to these sustainability initiatives in Pertamina? Thank you, Pak.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Siddhartha. I think it is true that what is the
Hello.
The role I explained from two. Hello.
Yes. I miss. Could you a bit
Repeat
again? Yes. Repeat.
Okay.
Yes.
My connection was
Yeah.
unstable. I think the role of the sustainability committee basically to ensure the implementation that of our 10 sustainability focus, with each of the focus has its target can be achieved. With, of course, with its own roadmap, as well as which subholding or which entity will contribute to each of these sustainability focus. So out of these 10 sustainability focus, we detail it in more clear as 16 initiatives throughout all the business. So the role of the sustainability committee is to ensure this can be achieved by having a monthly monitoring ESG initiative progress. So it is, every month the team task force has to report to the ESG committee, to the sustainability committee, in all initiative program, which is divided into more 200 program throughout the business entity. So we report each of it. We flag which one that already achieved, which one is still, yellow color or in the red color, and what support is needed from the board to ensure this we can achieve. It is a very serious issue. We take this ESG is a critical and strategic issues within Pertamina organization. And I think by having that, we put this ESG target as the BOD target set up by the BOC, Board of Commissioners. So it is a KPI clearly stated in BOD, performance indicators, and that's also cascade into all the board on the subsidiary level, and of course will cascade to the employee. So that's I think maybe how we execute and ensure this all program and initiative can be achieved within the organization.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. I think it's very interesting that you mentioned that it's the KPIs of BOD and cascading down to the employees. I think this is very important. So, I mean, it's not just the financial measures as the KPI, but also non-financial measures. I think that's one implementation of sustainability governance. Thank you very much, Pak. Now we're going to have the third panelist also in the energy sector, especially in the mining sector. I would like to invite Ibu Febriani Edi. First of all, I would like to introduce her. So Ibu Febriani Edi is the President Director and CEO of PT Vale Indonesia. She became the President Director and CEO of PT Vale Indonesia since April 2021. Bu Febri has been with Vale for nearly 14 years and held important positions within the organization. Previously, Bu Febri served as the Deputy CEO and CFO of PT Vale. Bu Febri has an MBA from UCLA Anderson School of Management and the National University of Singapore, and a bachelor degree in the economic accounting from University of Indonesia. Very nice meeting you again, Bu Febri, after all this year.
Yeah, Pak Siddhartha, I was so happy to see you again, although it's online.
So please share your Vale experience, with implementing sustainability governance, what you see the value of implementing this sustainability governance, and also, of course, the challenges and how you overcome the challenges. And first of all, I would like also to congratulate Vale, because according to Sustainalytics, Vale is of course, in the very high risk sector, the metal sector, but even that, Vale is able to make in the top 20%, out of all the companies globally. So congratulations for Vale in that achievement. So please, Bu Febri.
Thank you, Pak Siddhartha. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share with your experience. We still have a lot of homework, but I think happy to hear practices from Pertamina too, and I think I myself learned a lot and can bring that to improve our practices in Vale, Indonesia. So sustainability, I think today is one of the most popular words nowadays. Yeah, but I think we all need to be careful that it's not merely a buzzword. Therefore, I'm really happy that the topic sustainability governance become really, really critical to ensure that we actually deliver our principle, our promise in sustainability. So our business is mining, nickel mining. So I often get questions, can mining really be sustainable? So I'd like to use this opportunity to explore a little bit what we think and what we view is, and welcome any input or questions you may have. I think today human life cannot be detached from mining product, right? In everything that we do today involve mining product, electricity, internet, phone, laptop, and even today what we need a lot of mining products. So if human life cannot be detached from mining, then we have no choice to make mining a sustainable one. So for PT Vale, sustainable mining practice means we strive to ensure in the way we conduct our mining activities, we bring minimum negative impact to the environment, while at the same time bring optimum value, socially and economically, for our stakeholders. I think it's important to highlight stakeholders. It's no longer just shareholders. We need to look at the entire stakeholders, and particularly community where we operate. And ultimately, our purpose is to bring net improvement to human life. So I have no doubt, it enhanced the company value for both investor and key stakeholders, because we see good sustainability practices, and it has been proven in our case also, it enhanced the company reputation. And to us today is one of the key competitive advantage. In nickel industry today, we have so many other nickel smelters, but I think I'm very grateful that our founding fathers from the beginning, 40, 50 years ago, already, embedded the value of sustainability. And therefore, we're today in a very good, well-positioned, I guess, to embrace the sustainable mining practices. So one of the example how it add value, for instance, is now we all talk about the importance of global decarbonization, right? Transitions to green energy. But a lot of people don't realize that in order to supply the green energy, we actually need a lot of critical minerals, and among others are nickel. So for instance, electric vehicles, hydropowers, right, solar PV, all of them needs a lot of nickel. So we believe because nickel is a solution for the climate change issue, it must be mined and processed in a sustainable way. Otherwise, it will then defeat the purpose itself. So for us, it's really important, and therefore we felt like we're very well positioned. Recently, Vale Indonesia announced our partnership with Huayu and Ford Motor to produce nickel materials for electric vehicle. We're able to attract Ford, for instance, because they only want to source the nickel from a sustainable miner. So that gives us really, competitive advantage compared to other miners in Indonesia. So this is just one example, so feasible, the value of, embracing sustainability in our practices. Then in Vale Indonesia, how do we do this, right? So we believe it's important to embed the sustainability into our company DNA. I think it's important that the company realize that sustainability cannot be just a program. It cannot be just an initiative within a company. It should be a reflection of who we are, reflections of who the company is really. So in Vale Indonesia, I think sustainability principle is embedded in our purpose, our company purpose, why we exist. And then it moved to our mission, and then our company value, which is the guiding principle in making decision-making. And then the key behavior that we expect from the leaders down to the operator what kind of key behavior we expect. It very well articulated. It involves also sustainability concept. And then at the end of the day, our ambitions, we want to be leaders in sustainable mining practices. So I think in all aspects, we have the sustainability built in. One may say that, okay, those are just, paper, strategy document. But in reality, how do we then realize this into our day-to-day activities? So I think it's very important, again, similar to what Pertamina have been echoing, very important commitment. It begins from the top, from myself. So if I don't have that commitment, forget about it. So one of the example of that commitment, for instance, I guess in our commitment is really tested when we are faced with a very difficult decision. So a couple of years ago, we have very economically very attractive program to convert the source of our dryer into coal. The project is very feasible. It's just a matter of, the value is huge. We could gain like a saving of $40 million per year. But at that time, we decided that it will contradict our company principles of low carbon. So we decided, okay, we need to achieve the saving, but it cannot be through additional carbon emission. So we decided not to do that. And secondly, we also, in our Greenfield project, we have 2 Greenfield projects. We also commit.
Sorry.
And also in our Greenfield project, we also commit, we're no longer going to use a coal-fired power plant. So it has to be a low carbon options. So this is an example of when your commitment is tested, because you will have to spend more money, right? Obviously, it's costly. But at the end of the day, in the longer term, we think that sustainable option is actually the answer. And then second, is important to have a clear accountability. It has to be established and communicated. So similar with Pertamina as well, we have our short-term and medium and longer-term goal. We have a KPI from a CEO down to operator level. Everyone KPI have sustainability aspect there. And in fact, I would say today that historically in the past, we have a lot of weight going to financial KPI, but today it's less. It's no longer the most dominant factors. We have performance measured by people, planet, and profit. So profit is just one of them. A lot of KPI on safety, a lot of KPI on environmental, and social performance index. So I would say that financial now is probably roughly 25 to 30% only. The rest is really the non-financial KPI. But it's the same from the board until the operator. All of us, our KPI, our scorecard have embedded the sustainability concept. And then the next thing I'd like to share also is we have now dedicated sustainability function. We have a manager sit in that role, but given the importance of sustainability, given the importance role that we play, we're now in the process of changing and upgrading the role to a CEO -1. So very senior leadership role reporting directly to me. Our Board of Commissioners also has standing agenda to track on our sustainability agenda and KPI. We also have subcommittee looking at low carbon particularly. I think low carbon is because it's one of the most challenging factors for us. So therefore it gets the special attentions within our group. So apart from that, I also would like to share, I think some of the strategic directions that we made also very important. I think last year we joined COP26, and in that forum, we actually announced our global commitment, Bali commitment, PTBI commitment to actually follow Paris Agreement. So we have announced our roadmap to reduce 33% of our carbon emission for scope 1 and 2 by 2030, and then achieving net zero by 2050. We don't know yet how to achieve the net zero, but at least we have a clear roadmap of how we can deliver our 33% reductions by 2030. One of the most significant agenda is actually to convert currently consumptions of fuel and also coal into LNG. Yes, it is still a fossil fuel. A lot of people criticize that why you moving to an LNG. But I guess touching on the challenge as well, today our industry is considered one of the hard to abate industry. We need so much energy. We need the scale and we need the reliability. And today, all of the other options we have looked at, and it's not feasible today. we have an options to wait. Let's say, let's wait until that options become feasible, or do something today, knowing that it may not be a perfect solution while waiting for the perfect solution to come. So we decided to take the later one. So we decided to transition first to LNG while giving us more time to study and evaluate a better option. We're also part of the Valley Global team, and Valley SA allocated $6 billion US to actually study the low carbon options. Of course, being part of the group, we would like to tap on any success that they have and bring it to Indonesia and our practices. So let's hope that will happen. And another key initiative we have is also to electrify all of our vehicle. So it will be irony, isn't it, when we produce a material to electrify other vehicle, but our own mining vehicle are not electrified. So I'm very glad to share February this year, and also last month, February this year, we have the first electric vehicle arriving in Sorako in a remote area. And last month, I inaugurated the first mining truck, 70-ton electric as well. So these two vehicles are the pilot. We plan to run this as a pilot to identify reliability, and all the consumptions. That information will be required for us to design the infrastructure required to electrify all of our vehicles. Ultimately, if we can electrify all of our vehicles, we can reduce at least 200,000 tons of carbon emission per year. Having said that, though, despite all of this great agenda that we have, today we are one of the lowest carbon intensity nickel smelter in Indonesia, thanks to the hydropower that we have. We have 3 electric hydropower dams that allow us to reduce our carbon emissions. And despite we're one of the lowest carbon intensity plant in Indonesia, we still have very ambitious target to reduce our carbon. As I mentioned before, we see great value in doing that. And today, I think more and more our customer, ultimately, the customer and the people, the society are very critical toward that. And any first mover that will gain the value. That's why we believe it is so important that the business embracing that. So that's in a nutshell. Then let me bring forward the main challenges. I mentioned before about availability of proven technology. It's today very difficult for a hard to abate industry that we have. Therefore, we choose to transition to LNG first. And second, I'd like to use this opportunity also to encourage more companies to look at sustainable practices. I think a lot of perceptions in the market today is it will definitely add extra costs. It doesn't have to be that way. I think first of all, when you look at carbon emission, in our case, the largest cost component is energy. So it's kind of one stone killed 2 birds. So if we can improve our energy efficiency, we reduce our costs, at the same time to reduce carbon emission. And reductions of carbon emission doesn't always have to count on major technology advancement. It could also start from something very minor and very simple, like changing habit, right? Changing process. And that way, I think that's the first target eventually. We call it low-hanging fruit. Start with that first. That doesn't require technology advancement. Because then when you do it, it's quick, it's cheap, you can see the result, it gives you motivations to go further. Then of course, for large company, they can afford to do technological change, then we will definitely do that, right? In our case, I mean, we tap on the global knowledge and resources. Lastly, I think the most challenging part is, as I mentioned, sustainability should be built as part of the DNA, the culture, and part of the company identity itself. It's not easy. I mean, it's easy to say, but it's very challenging to ensure that every level in the organization, every department and function embrace the same concept. But it is a journey. Therefore, we all believe it's not something that you can achieve over the 24 hours, right? It's something that you will gradually achieve, but it's important that we always start small, think big, but consistent and persistent achieving the goal. That way we can then move the needle toward where we want it to be. So that's a bit of sharing, Pak Siddhartha. I hope it's helpful for others.
Definitely very helpful, Bu Feby. Thank you very much. So some highlights from your explanation is that I think very important that you emphasize that sustainability has to be embedded, embedded as becoming a company DNA. I think I couldn't agree more with that. And it should also be reflected in the purpose, mission, value, and also reflected in key behaviors. And of course, it's a long journey. It cannot be like in like even 5 years, maybe more than 5 years. So I totally agree with that. And also another very important points that you note is that very important to have this tone from the top. I think this is also consistent with the explanation from Pak Daniel Pertamina, and also in terms of the organization structure, because you mentioned that currently you have this sustainability office plan that you plan to move up this office directly below you, as the CEO. I think that's also very. I mean, people will view that Vale treats this sustainability initiative as a strategy, and you put it right below the CEO. I think that's also a very important point. And the overall approach, looking at that, you want to have this minimum negative impact while maximizing positive impact on human life. I think that's also a very important. I think what all you mentioned, Bu Febri, is like what I lecture, in the class. But this is like not like in the just theory, but in practice. I think I would like to invite you, become a guest lecturer in the lecture if you. Okay, and you also mentioned some benefits, and partnerships are also very important. Also consistent with Pertamina, clear accountability, measurable targets, and also very important transition. You have to, of course, you have to set up an ambitious target, but you have to be realistic. You have to be able to make transitions. I think that's a very important point, Bu Feby. And also the challenges, yes, the availability of environmentally friendly technology. Hopefully, in the near future, there will be more and more technology that we can adopt to have this to comply with our target. But also, you mentioned also very important, changing habits, which involves no cost, can save a lot of money. And also, this is good also financially, but also good in terms of saving planets. Okay, congratulations, Bu Febri. Thank you very much. So now I will move to the next speaker. Again, going back to the financial sector, with in this case is with BRI, Bank Rakyat Indonesia. Also quite in terms of ESG performance, but BRI is also quite highly covered by media when issuing the green bond, okay, with very oversubscribed, and at the same time obtain a very low cost of fund. So first I will introduce Pak Ahmad to all of you. So Pak Ahmad Soluhin Lutfianto is the director in BRI since 2018, and currently is the compliance director of BRI, and previously he was served as a head of human capital division and head of transaction banking division. Pak Ahmad Solihin holds the Bachelor of Agriculture Technology from University of Jember and Master of Management Marketing MIS at the University of Gajah Mada and at the Edger College University of Norway. So Pak Solihin, if you can share, the experience of BRI in implementing sustainability governance, how the BOD and also the BOC are involved with these issues, if you can share with us, and also in terms of the organization structure, like previously explained by Pertamina, also by Vale, how is the organization structure in BRI with regard to assuring, that sustainability is considered strategic at BRI, and you can also, if you can also share some benefits that BRI obtain, from practicing this, promoting sustainable development. Also, of course, at the end, also the challenges and how BRI can overcome the challenges. Please, Bapak.
For having me. I think this is the second time this month. After 3 weeks ago, we had also very nice discussion with Professor Siddhartha,
yes,
and at the Hotel Borobudur,
yes,
with the same topic, I think, with the governance, but different perspective. So good afternoon, and thank you for having me again. It's an honor for me to be here to talk about Bank Rakyat Indonesia, BRI, how BRI integrate sustainability into our governance framework. So to start my presentation, I would like to share a bit about BRI because I know that some of you everybody knows about BRI, but not everybody knows well about what is actually BRI. So BRI began its history from a humble beginning as a cash manager for a mosque in Purwokerto in Central Java in 1895. So then our journey continue, and currently we've been a public-owned company with the largest market cap in Indonesia and ranked number 3 in banking industry and Southeast Asia region, and also ranked number 40 for banks in the world. With its strong infrastructure, as you may see in the presentation and the slide, supported by high-quality human resources, our extensive network spread across Indonesia. So we have also brands in Vale, in Sorowako, Bu Febri, and innovative technology as well. So we consistently deliver value to our stakeholder. So we not only plays a role in delivering economic value, since we are state-owned bank, state-owned company. So we are not only delivering economic value, but also we have to deliver social value as well for all stakeholders, and this reflected in our vision to become the most valuable banking group in Southeast Asia and also champion of financial inclusion in 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many ways, as mentioned by Pertamina and by Vale as well. There are many ways a company create a value. But we believe that when a company significantly improve its corporate governance practices, it will transform its ability to create sustainable value. Again, I will repeat, if a company significantly improve its corporate governance practices, it will transform its ability to create sustainable value. And this is relevant aligned with the research conducted by Grant Thornton in 2019 on corporate governance. They found that companies with a strong corporate governance are 29% more efficient in generating profit, 43% more efficient at selling product, and also able to generate double return for shareholder. At BRI, to make sure that we can create sustainable value, we have designed an integrated governance framework for BRI Group. So now we're not only talking BRI as a bank, but starting from now, we are talking and we also communicate BRI as a group of financial company. So we are now as a big financial institution, one of the biggest financial institution here in Indonesia. So that's why the way we see the governance, we have 4 aspects. First, of course, as mentioned by the previous speaker, first we have to talk about the governance structure. The governance structure is the governing body and the infrastructure that support the implementation of corporate governance. This include, as mentioned by Professor Siddhartha as well, general meeting of shareholder, board of commissioner, board of director, board of committee. We have so many board committee here. One of them is ESG committee. So I think this similar with the Bu Febri that we also have and Pertamina as well. We have now we already have a ESG committee to assess, to evaluate, to monitor the ESG roadmap. Since now we already have the ESG roadmap in BRI. And last but not least, since we are now as a financial group, we also have the integrated working unit, including audit, risk management, and also compliance. And the second one, we have to see the governance process. The governance process deal with the procedures that refer to applicable guideline, policy, regulation. That also, this is the most important one, ladies and gentlemen, that provide oversight or monitoring, and also reporting and communicating the risk and control process. The governance process are integrated between compliance, risk management, internal audit, strategic planning, performance management, and so on. And the third one is the commitment. This is also mentioned by the previous speaker. I think I really agree with you that the tone of the top must be loud and clear. When the question is who has to deliver the tone of the top, it must be the CEO. I totally agree with you, Bu Febri, that the CEO commitment and also value must be delivered by the CEO, and this must be loud and clear. And lastly, all those aspects must refer to the principle of corporate governance, which are, I think this everybody already know, that the transparency, accountability, responsibility, independent, and also fairness. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, as part of the governance process, we maintain a good relationship with our stakeholders. The implementation of ESG and sustainable finance practices has become one of the main concerns of our stakeholders, especially since we are a public company. It is our challenge to meet the expectation from our stakeholders, as well as aligning our sustainability goal with our corporate vision. So the way we see the ESG is not just a project. ESG is really important for us. We think that the ESG should be a part of corporate strategy. So on the customer side, as there are more potential customers, and this is the opportunity, Professor. On the customer side, since we see that there are more potential customers coming from millennials generation, customers are now starting to have more preference in ESG related products, including financial product and services as well. But the more of our investors are integrating ESG factor into their investment decision. This reflected in the increase of global ESG investment, which account for 1.55 times during 2016 to 2020. This is huge money. This is a really potential money from the global investor that we have to address. Besides those two, we also must keep up with the regulation. One of them, the FSA, OJK. OJK already have regulated the practices of sustainability by the issuance of POJK 51, as mentioned by previous speaker, Pak Miftah. Then we as a bank, we have to comply with those regulators. Considering the importance of our stakeholder concern and expectation, we believe that this is very important for us to align sustainability issue with our integrated governance framework. So early this year, we already have designed our sustainability strategy, which also ensure that our strategy align with our corporate vision to become the most valuable banking group in Southeast Asia and also champion of financial inclusion here in Indonesia. As part of our sustainability strategy, we aspire to be a world-class sustainable banking group focusing on environmental, social, and governance dimension in 2026. So along with our ESG aspiration, we also bring mission for the corporation to moving forward together to empower the community and responding to the climate change by realizing sustainability in all banking activities. In 2022, we aspire to be the ESG frontrunner bank in Indonesia that is aligned with the corporate aspiration, which is sustain top-tier status in Indonesia. So these strategies formulated to achieve our ESG purpose, that's empowering the people and nurturing the planet. As part of our sustainability strategy, we have defined a total of 27. So now we already have 27 strategic initiatives, 9 initiatives in each segment, in environmental, social, and also in governance. One of the strategic initiatives in environmental dimension is portfolio classification. This is aligned with Pak Miftah mentioned before, that we as a bank, we have to identify financial opportunity from the rising climate change issue. So aligned with our ESG strategy initiative, in June this year, we just issued green bond with the value up to 15 trillion rupiah and carried in stage for 3 years until 2024. So this year we have issued and over the green bond phase 1 with a value of 5 trillion rupiah. So at least 70% of the proceed obtained from the green bond issuance will be used for the green project. So to us, the issuance of BRI green bond has been a success because it creates value, including the first resulting in positive market reaction, so by 4.4 oversubscribed. So also help promote the green development here in Indonesia. At least 70% of the bond proceed will be used for the green project. And the last one I think is reducing the risk. By focusing on the green sector, we have relatively lower NPLs compared than the other sector. So all effort to implement this ESG principle have received recognition, alhamdulillah, and also appreciation from the external stakeholder. I would mention one of them. PRI Sustainability Report in 2021 also won the Platinum Award at the Asian Sustainability Report rating in 2021. So in terms of ESG rating, as mentioned as well by previous speaker, we already have ESG score from S&P Global that year by year increase compared to the previous year. So we also have ESG rating from Sustainalytics, was rated medium risk, better than previous year. So we are, I think, the best ESG rating. We have the best ESG rating from Sustainalytics in banking industry. So we also have become one of the constituent of the IDX ESG related index with the best score among other bank. So I think that's all from us, Professor. So thank you for the opportunity and also for the time. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pak Ahmad, for the very excellent presentation, and also congrats to BRI in achieving stellar performance in terms of sustainability achievement. For example, like issuing green bond and also making in the top groups from the Sustainalytics in the banking sectors. So some important points highlighted by Pak Ahmad. Some of them are consistent with the previous speakers from Pertamina and also from Vale. The first one is very important to have this tone at the top. Again, and it should also be loud and clear. And also, it also should be reflected in the vision, mission, and also have a roadmap with a clear target. And so, another point that I think is very interesting is companies should view this sustainability should view this. It's not just risk, but also as opportunities, as BRI has experienced, by issuing the green bond. BRI not only obtain funding at a very low cost of fund, but also increase BRI reputation in terms of sustainability. So I think that's a very excellent performance. I have a question, Pak, with regard to the role of BRI as other banks to provide loans, to provide loans to the to companies in Indonesia, and of course because OJK encourage companies to provide loans that are used for environmentally friendly or also socially friendly activities. So could you share with us, how BRI experience, in providing loans to Indonesian companies, especially small medium enterprises, and at the same time encourage them, to also take part in this sustainability matters. Please, Pak.
Thank you, Pak. It's an interesting question. Now our total loan portfolio is around 1,000 trillion rupiah. 1,000 something, 1,100 trillion rupiah. So around 65% we disburse to sustainable activities.
65%, Pak.
65%.
Wow.
But
Okay.
mostly
Yes.
for the SME sector, especially for the microfinance. So
Okay.
around 75% of the 65% belong to the green sector. For example, like green project. For example, like MRT, LRT, and other green project. And so basically, mostly 58% of our loan portfolio belong to MSME. So around 650 trillion rupiah of our loan portfolio is belong to sustainable finance.
Oh, okay, that's very high. So, is there any challenge or challenges with regard BRI initiatives for also encouraging other parties, especially the stakeholders, these companies to also practice sustainability, Pak? Or you don't have any challenge at all, or maybe
Yeah, of course.
you can share with us? Okay.
If we discuss about sustainability, of course, there are many challenges. Of course, the way we see the challenge is from two sides. From the internal side, I mean, from the BRI itself, is the most challenging one is the culture. How to shift the culture of the employee, how to shift the mindset of the company to be more sustainable thinking. And from the external side, external factor, the way we see is a much more like an opportunities. So we don't see that there is a threat, because if we see that there is a threat from regulator, and also pressure from stakeholder, then we have to be getting more stress. So we just see the way around. This is an opportunity for us.
Okay, good. Okay, I
so
think
because there will be many room for improvement.
Yeah, I think what BRI views should be also spread it to other companies in Indonesia. But I couldn't agree with you with regard to that. Seeing as sustainability as opportunity instead of as threat. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Muhammad. Okay, now we come to the last speaker. Last but not least, from BlackRock, it's a very large institutional investors. As I explained earlier at the beginning of the session, institutional investors now play a very important role in capital markets, and also as a consequence, they also have a very important role in encouraging these investee companies to also adopt sustainability principles. So before I will introduce you first, Mr. Let me see, Mr. Sin Bowon. Okay, so Mr. Sin Bowon is the Managing Director, Head of Asia, excluding Japan, BlackRock Investment Stewardship. So Mr. Sin Bowon currently heads the BlackRock's investment stewardship team in Asia, excluding Japan. He is responsible for engaging with investee companies in Greater China, Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, and South Korea markets on behalf of BlackRock clients globally. So Mr. Sinbo holds an MBA from the Haas School of Business, UC University of California, Berkeley, and Bachelor of Arts Economics from Yonsei University. So Mr. Sinbo Won, if you could share, how BlackRock views, this issue of sustainability, especially from the perspective of institutional investors, and also how BlackRock investment policies, with regard to this sustainabilities, and how BlackRock also engage, with the investing companies to encourage them to be more friendly, or to promote more on sustainability matters. Please, Pak. Yes, Mr. Sinbo, the time is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Professor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here today with our distinguished speakers. It's been an amazing learning experience hearing from them today. And I'd like to again thank the hosts as well as our AIA and IAI and IFAC for having me here today. So today I would like to briefly share about why sustainability is important to us here at BlackRock, how we help our clients invest sustainably, and from an equity investor and shareholder perspective, how we engage and vote to promote sustainable business practices in our investee companies. So could we kindly move to page 3 of the slide, please? Okay, so first, a brief introduction of our firm and why sustainability is important to us. As of the end of June, we were entrusted to manage $8.5 trillion of our clients' assets. We have more than 18,000 employees across 35 offices globally, serving clients across more than 100 countries. And it is important to distinguish that we are a fiduciary asset manager, that the money that we are managing are entirely our clients and not our own. And these clients include more than 100 institutions, such as pensions, insurers, as well as governments, who themselves are managing money for the long term to help the ultimate beneficiary, the individuals, fulfill their long-term financial goals, such as buying their first homes, saving for children's education, and funding their retirement. And so in APAC alone, this means that we are responsible for more than 1 billion individual savers and more than 300 million retirees. So for us, this fiduciary responsibility is something that we take very seriously. Next page, please. So as a fiduciary responsible for our clients' long-term interest, we have been putting forward specific asks to the CEOs of our investee companies over the years. And most notably, we do this through the annual letter that our CEO, Larry Fink, sends out each year in January. And it started back in 2012 with the emphasis on companies putting good corporate governance practices to ensure that long-term business performance is attained. And I think our 2018 letter drew significant attention compared to previous years. And the message then was around CEOs having to foster a very clear sense of purpose for the whole organization to embrace, so that the right decisions are made around employee development, innovation, capital expenditure, all necessary for long-term growth. Notice our focus on long-term here. And 2020 letter is when we stated our view that we see climate risk as investment risk with very profound implications to long-term viability of the companies that we're invested in. We also shared our view that there will be a fundamental reshaping of finance as capital will shift towards companies that manage sustainability issues well. And we also called for companies to strengthen disclosure around how they are managing climate risks and broader sustainability risk, but also the opportunities that come from these risks by reporting to the TCFD framework and industry-specific standards like the SASB standard. I need to mention that we are very pleased and grateful that IFRS is leading the way towards a common standard that we can use globally, something that investors have been asking for a very long time. And our last year letter, we further expanded on our 2020 letter, confirming that we are seeing the signs of a tectonic shift in capital accelerating, and ask companies to disclose how they are incorporating transition to a net zero economy into their long-term strategy. This year, we again re-emphasized that our focus on sustainability, including the importance of stakeholder management, these are all financially material issues that will impact durable profitability of the companies that we invest in. Next slide, please. So how do we help our clients invest sustainably? Sustainable investing, or ESG investing, this means many different things to many different clients. And it is very important to be very clear that sustainable investing isn't about one single thing promising one single outcome. I think part of the conversation that needs to be had is about the fact that we face a very wide range of approaches that can produce a range of different outcomes depending on an investor's preference, so what our clients would like to achieve. And so if we look at the spectrum of the type of solutions we provide. On the avoid end of the spectrum, ESG screen strategies lies in this avoid bucket. And it includes strategies that would eliminate exposure to certain companies or sectors associated with high ESG risks, or which just don't align with that particular client's values. So examples of such things would be excluding sectors such as weapons, thermal, coal, firearms, tobacco, increasingly more carbon intensive industries here. In the middle of the range, we see what we call ESG managed or optimized strategies, which seek to maximize ESG scores. So we've heard a lot about ESG score from the companies today. And this caters to clients who would like to invest in a more traditional way, except increasing the weight of companies that are leaders in the ESG spectrum. And then, of course, on the far end of this spectrum would be about achieving specific outcomes or investing into specific themes associated with the different ES and G themes. So it could be things about EVs, secondary batteries, new climate technologies, and so forth, and including sustainable development goals increasingly. Next slide, please. There's a lot of data here, but we predicted about 2 years ago that there is a tectonic shift towards sustainability and that it would trigger a great repricing of assets across the board. And in the beginning of this shift, investors have moved their money into sustainable investments at about 6 times the growth rate of traditional investments, with assets globally now totaling over 4 trillion across all ESG categories as of the end of 2021. This is on the bottom left hand. And there has been striking change across carbon intensive industries, from energy, heavy industry to agriculture, to decarbonize and remake their business. And we now also see evidence in the market supporting this. For example, our research has shown that more sustainable companies are now really seeing their cost of capital fall, while it's the complete opposite for the least sustainable companies. So this is really becoming an operational impact to many of the companies looking at the capital market to fund their growth. And if you look at the top right corner of this deck, and even despite the challenges in the capital markets that we have seen throughout the first half of this year, the net zero transition is advancing, and we are still trending forward. And so the share of countries committed to net zero has now swelled from less than 10% to more than 95% of global emissions. And net zero commitments are, again, at the top of mind for both investors like us, as well as the companies that we talk to. And so to help our clients navigate this change, we've invested in building and scaling the depth of our sustainable investing platform over the past few years. Right now, we have designed a dedicated sustainability investing platform that is roughly $500 billion in AUM. And through this, we are offering both index and alpha seeking strategies across all asset classes through a dedicated sustainability lens. And on top of that, we have also integrated ESG factors into all of our active and advisory strategies across multiple asset classes. And this is whether or not they have a dedicated sustainable mandate. And that makes up just over 3 trillion of assets under management right now. So roughly about 35% of the total AUM that we're currently managing. Next slide, please. And so why are we doing this and why are clients asking for this? It's because there is investment conviction that sustainable investing over the long run does not mean a trade-off in return. When we compare historical performance of traditional equity indices and compare that with back-tested ESG-focused equity indices during a 10-year period between 2012 and the first half of 2022 this year, the latter, the ESG version, performs at least on par or outperforms the parent index. And this is a common pattern that we see not only in certain regions of the world, we see this across all different regions, Americas, EMEA, and APAC as well. Next slide, please. So now let me talk a little bit about how our team, the investment stewardship team, plays a role in BlackRock's overall approach to sustainability. So the BIS team, investment stewardship team, is an important component of our equity investment function, and it is a key part of fulfilling our duties as a fiduciary to our clients. And so when it comes to equity investments at BlackRock, we are primarily an index investor, a passive investor. So our holding period of our equity stock is technically almost perpetual. As long as that company is in the index, we don't trade those shares. We are almost permanent shareholders of many of these companies that we invest through ETFs. And so from the perspective of a very long-term equity investor or a shareholder, our team is responsible for mainly three things. First, we engage directly with our investee companies, ideally with the board or management, on governance of material issues that impact long-term value of the company. Increasingly, this involves discussions around ESG issues that are very unique to that company. And second, we vote on all the shares that we hold across our global portfolios to voice our support or concern, to advance our expectations around governance and sustainability. And three, lastly, we promote thought leadership through engagements with various stakeholders, such as regulators and policymakers, and even industry bodies like we are doing today. And next slide, please. And so we continue to invest very heavily in putting people on the ground to broaden our engagement across the globe. So this is a little outdated. This is from January this year, but now we have close to 70 professionals around the world and more than 20 here in APAC alone to have this dialogue with companies and our broader stakeholders. And I'm proud to say that we have the largest stewardship function among all global asset managers in the world. Next slide, please. Okay, so for our company engagements, each year we set and announce key topics that help us prioritize our work around the corporate engagements that we do. And again, this is aligned to how we can encourage good governance practices for all sustainable business performance. So to us, these are all ESG issues, right? And the 5 topics are: first, it's on board quality and effectiveness, as quality leadership is essential to performance, including sustainability performance. Second would be around climate and natural capital. So what are the action plans? What are the targets that we have been asking companies for? And this is to ensure that these companies, in turn, are sustaining good performance over the longer term through the face of this net zero transition that we're going through right now. The third topic would be around the company's long-term strategy, purpose, financial resilience. So discussions would evolve around what is the long-term strategy, what is the long-term capital management, and including how they are planning to invest into different ESG-related issues, including to ensure that the companies remain financially resilient. Fourth topic is about incentives. So this would be on the alignment of executive pay to long-term performance of the company. And increasingly, we would like to see components of ESG-related KPIs embedded into the pay practice. And lastly, this is what would be the broader S issues in ESG. This is what are the company's impacts on people. So how are companies managing the relationships and impacts to all of its key stakeholders, such as their customers, employees, business partners, and the community in which it operates. And so on these topics, the approach, the policies and strategies, they're all different and very unique to each company. And to understand how a company looks at these issues and embeds them into long-term strategy, for us, it's very important that we get to hear this directly from the board, from the top, those who are responsible for the governance of these very important issues. And our expectation is that the board is able to articulate to all of their shareholders what is their approach, how are they implementing the appropriate measures around these important topics, both including risks and the opportunities, and how this is being embedded into the long-term strategy so that the company creates long-term shareholder value. Just to share with you some stats around the engagements that we have done between June 30 of 2021, July 2021 to June 30 this year, so 1 year period. Globally, we had over 3,600 engagements with almost 2,500 companies across 55 different markets. And below are some of the numbers that represent the engagements across the 5 different engagement topics that I just talked about. And you can see that globally, we continue to focus very heavily on board issues, as well as long-term strategy and climate issues. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide. We share our voting policies publicly. It's all on our website. And since 2021, we have made a commitment to our clients to take into account in our voting how boards of our investee companies are managing climate risks and opportunities. So in our global equity portfolio of more than 16,000 listed companies, we identified that just 1,000 companies take up more than 90% of the Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. So it's a very small number of companies that are responsible for most of the emissions in our equity portfolio. And so for these companies, we have been asking for stronger disclosure around climate, aligning the reports to TCFD, including setting meaningful short, medium, and long-term reduction targets. And in 2021 and 2022, this year, we have voted against the reappointment of board directors at companies where we see a lack of progress on disclosure and management of climate risk to signal our concern on this matter. The last slide are some stats on our voting. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to skip through that. And maybe because there was so much content that I just shared with you, let me just quickly summarize what I wanted to say through this. One is that global capital is already shifting towards sustainability, including trying to align to the net zero transition. Second point would be that there has been a need, and there is now a concerted effort in standardizing how companies can report how they are approaching, managing, and performing along the spectrum of E, S, and G. And lastly, investors are increasingly looking to the board to guide their organization towards this transformation, including holding them accountable by voting against the reappointment when it is perceived to be lacking those of its peers. So with that, I'd like to stop there and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shimbu. So as you mentioned earlier, I just want to highlight a very important point that you stated. The first one is that global investment currently are moving toward more on sustainability. And so the implication, of course, for companies that want to obtain funding globally, if they don't change, to be more environmentally friendly or ESG friendly, they will be having difficulties on obtaining funding, from global investment communities. I think that's one implication. And this is because of the, in general, people, all over the world, they have more interest in sustainable investing, and as a result, the institutional investors respond to that, by also develop more on sustainability friendly portfolios. And also, I think it's also very important that you note that BlackRock, when making investment, in general, it tends to be long-term investment, and also engaging with the companies to encourage companies to improve their governance practices and also sustainability performance, including related not only in terms of environment but also people. and also active voting on general meeting as shareholders, also especially with regard to the appointment of board of directors. So may I have questions, Mr. Sembu? First of all, maybe because your portfolio includes Indonesia, as the one country that BlackRock invests. Maybe you can also share your BlackRock experience, in investing in Indonesia, especially in sustainability matters. That's one question. Another question is that with regard to your active investing, I think very interesting that BlackRock, put very much very emphasized to attend the GMS, also make a vote, against, for example, some appointment of the boards and so on. But given that in this region, most listed companies, their ownership structure are concentrated, where you have this controlling shareholders having a major shares of the companies. So in that case, then how do you assure that as institutional investors, what your engagement or active voting can have impact, on these listed companies having a concentrated ownership structure? Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent question. And you're right that not only in Indonesia, I think this region, we tend to see companies where ownership is concentrated to the founding family or the government. And so investors like BlackRock, we really are a minority. So no matter, even if we vote against any resolution or any appointment of any directors, I don't think it will be impactful enough that we will see actual change happen at the board. But we do that more to voice our concerns. It is one way of engaging with the companies that we hold in our portfolio, and we believe that vote carries a voice. To your point, I think because of that ownership dynamic, it is more important for us to be engaging in constructive dialogue with ideally the board, and we have been making quite a bit of progress with many Indonesian companies on this part as well. But perhaps more importantly, I mean, we are talking here purely from an equity standpoint, and equity investors are the only investors that actually have voting rights. Yes. But at the same time, the content that we share with the companies, the insights that we get from the companies, this is not just held within the equity part of our business. This is something that is shared across our entire investing platform. So our bond investors, our fixed income investors, our multi-strategy investors, all of them are aware of what could some of the concerns be that the equity side of the business might have with this particular company. And even if it's a 75% family-owned company, they come to the road much more often to issue bonds than they do for equity. And so I think this insight and potentially and hopefully the investor concerns around some of these issues are something that companies are hearing a lot more, not only from our side of the business, but also from the fixed income side as well. And it helps us move the dialogue along.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting. So I think that approach is very, very good. By continuing dialogue and also voice your concerns, I think eventually, these owners may have notice on the suggestion and hopefully make some changes in the companies, for example, governance or sustainability performance. Hopefully. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. And what about the questions about Indonesia? If you want to share, the experience of BlackRock in investing in Indonesia.
Yes. So on the equity front, I think we are predominantly passive investors. We do it through ETFs. So it is in our interest that many of the companies that we are currently invested in becomes more successful, becomes bigger. Their market cap goes larger so that they carry a bigger weight in the index. And naturally, our stake will reflect that, and we become bigger investors in that company. But maybe just for the sake of clarity here, we like family controlled companies. We like companies where there is interest to make sure that the company becomes successful, it is passed down to their sons, to their grandsons. You know, we are very much aligned to that because we are such long-term investors too. But at the same time, I think in Indonesia, particularly around disclosure, around showcasing what a great job we are doing in terms of climate, in terms of ESG, I think there's a lot of room for improvement, especially if we compare it to the more advanced markets where companies are benefiting from that better disclosure and, again, better flow to capital.
Okay, thank you. All right, so companies really need to become more transparent to be so that investors can really put more trust on the companies, I guess. Thank you very much, Mr. Simbu. So I think we have finished with all the 5 speakers. All of them are very, very excellent and very useful presentations. Thank you very much. We still have about 15 minutes for question and answers. So I would like to invite for the participants, if you want to raise questions directly to the speakers, please mention your name and also to whom you want to ask your questions. Please, if anybody wants to have questions, you can raise hand. And also maybe Bu Monica can help us in identifying the participants who want to ask questions. Anybody so far? Okay. No questions so far? Well, I also look at the chat, some questions in the chat. There is one question by Pak Andri Satrio Pratomo. The question is, what is the strategy to be able to implement sustainable governance and its relationship with ESG? What is the strategy to be able to implement sustainable governance and its relationship with ESG? Anybody wants to provide the answer for this? The panelists? Yes.
Why don't I give it a shot, if
Sure.
that's okay?
Sure, please.
Yeah, we engage with more than 3,000 companies every year across the globe, and we see companies from very different stages of managing ESG issues and trying to embed that into the company. And, you know, the spectrum is quite wide. So there are companies who look at this issue as a reporting issue. It's about putting together a sustainability report. And then we have on the other end of the spectrum where companies really accept this as a strategic imperative. How do we embed that into our long-term strategy? And what are the kind of changes and investments that we need to make today so that we are on the right path? And I think the key here, and I think it aligns very well with the topic that we're discussing today, it needs to come from the top. It needs to be accepted as a strategic issue rather than a compliance or a reporting related issue. And so we need to have the board, we need to have the top leaders endorse this and really look at this from top down. That would be my observation on this.
Okay, thank you. And I think what you just explained are also shared, by other panelists, because I think all of them also mentioned the importance of the tone at the top from the board. And I think that's the essence of sustainability governance, because, when you say the term governance, usually it involves the boards, boards at the top, the board of directors. And also in the case of Indonesia, it's the board of commissioners and also the board of management. So I think I couldn't agree with you with that in that respect. Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Okay. Also, I think since there currently we have a distinguished speaker from representing from IFRS, if I may ask also to you, is it possible? With yes, okay,
absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Because we see that there is a demand, for a globally conferred sustainability reporting standards, like IFRS that have been around for 20 years, but now we want to have also this for sustainability reporting standards. So from your perspective, given that currently there are many, there are already many current sustainability reporting standards from various parties, like GRI and also from integrated reporting and so on. How do you see this in the future? Would that be, will it be like in the case of financial reporting, the only one IFRS, or there will be still several of them? What do you see, like for example, what would happen in the next 10 years? Thank you.
So let's hope there's fewer to start with. But immediately, the establishment of the ISSB involved the consolidation of 5 existing sustainability frameworks and standards. So that was the Integrated Forum Framework, which you just mentioned, which is now going to exist in the IFRS Foundation and work to connect the IASB and the ISSB's work and play a big part of that. We also, as part of that, saw the consolidation of the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure Recommendations, the CDSB framework, which I used to lead, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board's industry metrics, as well as the WEF IBC metrics. So all of those 5 things have come in together and will have ceased to exist once we have the standards out. So that's a good thing. So investor-focused sustainability reporting standards for external disclosure and reporting to capital markets will all go away, and there just hopefully will be one. We really still need GRI though, because they do the impact, the wider stakeholder reporting. And so together, the ISSB and GRI together form 2 very important pillars that can work together to provide the full sustainability picture to markets and stakeholders. So hopefully we'll see less, hopefully we're going to see global adoption, and hopefully we're going to see increased interoperability between all of these standards and frameworks.
Okay, I think that's very good. So collaboration is very important, and that currently is actually happening in terms of the development of sustainability reporting standards. I think that's a very good signal, and hopefully within either I don't know, with 5 or 10 years, we will have a more globally conferred sustainability reporting standards. Okay, thank you very much. I think it's almost 5 o'clock now. I think we have to end this panel discussion. I just want to put some very short conclusion on what we have been discussing in the past 2 hours. The first one, I think there are some common views, from the panelists with regard to the implementation of sustainability governance. The first one is that it should be embedded in the company values culture. It should be reflected in the purpose, mission, value, and also translated into behaviors. And also the role of the boards here are very important. Taught from the top, and also it should be translated into measurable targets, long-term target, and also translated into KPIs, key performance indicators. KPIs should be broadened, not only including financial measures, but also non-financial measures. And these KPIs should be the top management, the board of directors should be evaluated not only based on financial measures, but also non-financial measures, and this should be kind of cascaded down to the employees. Another point, I think that is also very important, that we should view that this move towards sustainability should be viewed not as a risk. Of course, there are some risks, then we should address this. But more importantly, that we should also view this as opportunities for companies to grow in the futures. And as you can see also from the example provided by BlackRock and also from BRI, now those that have capitals, for example, BlackRock invests in equity capitals while BRI provide lendings. They put priorities providing their funds to companies that have investment in that are ESG friendly. So that's the trend in the future. So if the companies want still to survive in the within the next 10 years or 20 years, they have to change, their mindset from focusing only on financial matters to also to other non-financial matters. So with that, I would like to thank you for all the speakers, of course, to Ms. Mardi McBrien, and also to Pak Muhammad Miftah, to Pak Daniel Purba, to Bu Febriani Edi, and also to Pak Ahmad Solihin, and last but not least to Mr. Shin Bulwon. Thank you very much, distinguished panelists, and good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I give the session back to Bu Monica. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Siddhartha. Also, we would like to thank you to Bapak Miftah, Bapak Daniel Purba, Ibu Febriani Edi, Bapak Ahmad Solihin, Mr. Sin Bowon, and Ms. Mardi McBrien. Thank you for the fruitful discussion today and for delivering an important message to promote sustainable governance practice. Before we end the session, I would like to remind you that all participants are entitled to get up to 4 CPD hours. You will need to join our post-event survey and choose the right keywords. Please refer to the link that we have shared at the chat box and YouTube description box. Also, the link is showing on your screen. The right keyword is sustainable value creation. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, the right keyword is sustainable value creation. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our webinar today. On behalf of the organizer, IAI, B20, and IFAC, I would like to thank our distinguished guests and all of our panelists and moderator. Also to all the participants for your attendance and active participation. I would like to kindly remind you to provide your response to the link that we have been circulated. Your certificate of participation and webinar material will be provided once we receive your feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, before we close the session, I would like to invite you to join the 14th Congress of IAI in conjunction with the 65th anniversary of IAI on 13 until 15 December 2022 in Jakarta Convention Center. More information, please visit our website, iaiglobal.or.id. From Jakarta, Indonesia, my name is Monica Nabilia. It has been a pleasure to hosting this webinar. Thank you, and we look forward to welcoming you at our future events. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you,
Pak Miftah,
Bapak-bapak.
Thank you, Pak Daniel, thank you, Mr. Wan, thank you, Bu Linda, Pak Hendang, semuanya, Pak Edu.
Thank you.
Terima kasih Bapak Ibu semua.
Izin, Dik. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Monica dan teman-teman semua. Sukses untuk IAI.
Sama-sama Pak Endang.
Terima
kasih.
The world is changing at unparalleled pace. We are facing increasing pressure from global challenges. Despite these challenges, our world has made great strides in advancing growth. The global economy is recovering, and this is our chance to shape a better future for our planet and our people.
Since its establishment in 2010, the Business 20 or B20 has served as the voice of the business community in the G20 forum. Together, B20 participants are committed to making impact in the world, voicing out their ideas to push private-led economic transformation forward.
As business leaders in the Group of 20, the future relies on you to find lasting solution to our current global challenges and pave the way forward.
This year, Indonesia is honored to be the host of the G20 and B20 summits. As the fourth largest nation, the biggest economy in Southeast Asia, and one of the world's most prominent emerging markets, Indonesia is home to 270 million consumers, 63 million MSMEs, and 12 tech unicorns. Boasting rapid digital growth and emerging sustainable development, Indonesia truly is a land of opportunities. Under this year's theme of advancing innovative, inclusive, and collaborative growth, the B20 stands ready to promote dialogue among business players in G20 countries, provide policy recommendations, and launch initiatives on issues that matter. The themes are aligned with the key messages from inception meeting.
Berharap komunitas B20 akan memberikan tawaran-tawaran konkret yang bisa menjadi bagian dari capaian konkret KTT G20.
And the leadership of governments like Indonesia is going to be absolutely essential in this decisive decade of our climate fight.
The B20 has established several task forces to push progress forward and ensure that we will create recommendations that are actionable, sustainable, and inclusive. These task forces will represent the business community and advocate policy recommendations to the government. In this B20 presidency, we are committed to creating legacy programs that lay foundation for positive, lasting impact across G20 countries, marked by big new ideas, international collaboration, and tangible as well as sustainable impact, prototype in Indonesia and to be scaled globally. We welcome you to become a part of our journey toward a better tomorrow. Join us at the B20 Summit on November 13th and 14th, 2022, and let's collaborate to bring positive, lasting change for our world.
Baik Bapak dan Ibu hadirin sekalian, kami ucapkan terima kasih telah bergabung dalam acara webinar B20 Side Event. Kami akan menutup ruangan Zoom ini dalam hitungan ketiga. 1, 2, 3.